Welcome to the Mystery and History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one.
Japanese soldiers punished Chinese civilians during an incident in Nanjing in 1937. Known as the Nanjing Incident, this took place during the Second Sino-Japanese War, involving intense military actions and forced relocations. The city of Moscow is lit by explosions and searchlights during an air raid in 1941. This occurred in the context of World War II, when Moscow faced intensive military operations. A person is depicted wearing a kangui, a punishment and public humiliation device, in Shanghai, China, around 1870. The kangui was a wooden frame placed around the neck, restricting movement and exposing the wearer to public view. A V-1 flying bomb, known as the Doodlebug, is displayed in Piccadilly, London, England during the 1940s. In the Taegu area of South Korea on October 8, 1950, North Korean girls are escorted to a train bound for a prisoner of war camp in Busan. This occurred during the Korean War, which began in 1950 and involved forces from multiple nations. Lynda Carter appears in her Wonder Woman costume during the television series filming in the 1970s. The show premiered in 1975 and quickly became a hit, cementing Carter as a pop culture icon. Villagers inspect the wreckage of a Heinkel He-111 aircraft in Humby, East Lothian, Scotland. This occurred during World War II when German planes conducted missions over the United Kingdom. A Beetle car sits among rubble in Berlin, Germany in 1945, shortly after the end of a major global conflict. The city suffered extensive damage, and scenes like this illustrate the urban landscape during reconstruction. A crowd gathers after an elevated train accident in Brooklyn, New York City, United States in 1923. The elevated train system was a key part of the city's public transit in the early 20th century. Crew members stay on their tank after becoming stuck in a riverbed while attempting to find a shallow crossing at the Pukon River in Korea on April 7, 1951. South Vietnamese parents and their 5 children head toward Saigon on June 19, 1972, seeking safety during intense regional conflict. The draft lottery for the Vietnam War takes place in Washington, D.C., United States in 1969. This event was held to randomly determine the first men called for mandatory military service. A 3rd century Roman mosaic found in Tunisia depicts the damnatio ad bestias scene, or condemnation to the beasts. In this example, a leopard is shown as the animal selected to confront the condemned, a common arena practice. A baby's cradle is shown inside Wormwood Scrubs Prison in London, England, in 1901. At that time, young children sometimes lived with their incarcerated mothers in cells or designated areas. A well-known man stands amid a crowd following the announcement of World War I's outbreak in 1914 in Munich, Germany. This moment marked the start of one of the 20th century's most significant conflicts, involving many nations. The Kimberley Diamond Mine in South Africa became famous in 1872 after the discovery of an 83.5-carat diamond. The find drew thousands of prospectors, launching one of the region's largest mining booms. A coal miner's wife poses with 3 of her children in front of the company house in Pursglove, Scotts Run, West Virginia, United States, in September 1938. The visit took place after one of the most significant battles of the American Civil War, noted for its scale and historical impact. In the 1940s, a farmer paints stripes on her cow to improve visibility during blackout conditions if the animal wandered onto the road. Such measures were common in World War II when urban and rural areas enforced light restrictions for safety. A miner's cable car descends into the Kimberley diamond mine in South Africa in the late 19th century. This system eased the transport of workers and materials between the surface and the mine depths. Women of the South Korean Women's Auxiliary Corps march with military precision through the streets of Busan on September 12, 1950. They were trained to support critical operations during the Korean War. Soldiers guard fortified shelters in Korea in 1952 during fierce battles of the Korean War. These bunkers were used for protection and observation in combat zones. The windows on the World Restaurant operated atop the original World Trade Center in New York City during the 1980s. Opened in 1976, it offered panoramic city views and attracted visitors from around the globe. Women and girls use radium paint in 1922, unaware of the health risks that would later emerge. Radium was applied to create glowing dials, especially on watches and military instruments. Boys pose in front of a car in the Bronx, New York City, United States in 1977. During that decade, the borough faced social and economic challenges, yet it also became the birthplace of hip-hop and key cultural movements. A packed double-decker bus travels down a London street in England in 1928. In the 1920s, double-deckers were common in the city, moving thousands of passengers. Assyrian soldiers depicted in Nineveh reliefs carry out punishments of captives in Lachish in 701 BC. These scenes are part of King Sennacherib's famous reliefs originally displayed at the Nineveh Palace in present-day Iraq. British military equipment is disguised as elephants in India during the 1940s. This creative camouflage was used to confuse observers and protect vehicles and weapons during operations. A sun bath machine is showcased in 1949 at the annual Automatic Machines Convention in Chicago, Illinois, United States. The device was promoted as an innovation that gave people artificial tanning light. The ships Titanic and Olympic are under construction at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Construction began in 1909, and this photo was taken in 1910. The Olympic was launched on October 20, 1910, while the Titanic was launched on May 31, 1911. A peanut vendor works in Lower Manhattan, New York City, United States in 1945. At that time, street vendors were common, offering food and goods to locals and visitors. A woman cuts her birthday cake in Iran in 1973, 5 years before the Islamic Revolution. During that decade, the country underwent significant cultural and social changes driven by modernization. An unemployed logging industry worker travels with his wife to pick beans in Oregon, United States, in August 1939. During the Great Depression, many workers moved in search of temporary agricultural jobs. A Coca-Cola delivery truck crosses the Pont de l'Archevêché near Notre-Dame Cathedral in Paris, France. The bridge is noted for its proximity to the 12th to 14th century landmark. Howard Hughes pilots the Spruce Goose, a roughly 200-ton aircraft, during the 1940s. Officially named the Hughes H-4 Hercules, it was built mostly of wood due to wartime metal shortages. War photographer and correspondent Lee Miller is pictured on April 30, 1945, shortly after Allied forces took Munich, Germany. She became renowned for her powerful images documenting key moments of the conflict. Pasta dries on outdoor racks in front of a noodle shop in Palermo, Italy, in 1865. This traditional method allowed the dough to harden naturally, taking advantage of the region's favorable climate. A woman has her swimsuit length measured in 1925 as part of the era's dress regulations. At that time, beaches and public pools enforced strict rules on women's swimwear. The assembly line for the Porsche 911 operates at the Stuttgart factory in Germany during the 1970s. The Porsche 911 was introduced in 1964 and quickly became a global icon among sports cars. Jimi Hendrix is at TTG Studios in North Hollywood, California, United States in 1968. At this studio, Hendrix recorded many key tracks, experimenting with new techniques and sound effects. These vintage photos document one of the world's largest engineering projects carried out between 1906 and 1915 to bring water to New York City, United States. Neil Armstrong's wife and children watched the Apollo 11 launch on July 16, 1969, at Kennedy Space Center in Florida, United States. An engineer wires one of the first IBM computers, the Model 13M, in 1958 in the United States. At that time, computers filled large rooms and required complex manual connections to operate. Bruce Lee teaches martial arts to his young son, Brandon Lee, during the 1960s in the United States. Bruce Lee was a major martial arts and film icon, influencing generations with his philosophy and technique. The Council of Ministers and Supreme Soviet building of the Uzbek Soviet Socialist Republic is photographed by Yosif Budnovich in 1971 in Tashkent. The first photograph of a recording studio was taken in 1898, marking a pioneering moment in music and technology history. The image shows equipment used to capture sound, including phonographs and mechanical devices. A 3,200-year-old absenteeism record was found in ancient Egypt, listing excuses such as embalming a brother, making beer, and scorpion sting. Boy Scouts raise funds to help Titanic survivors in England in 1912. After the ship sank on April 15, 1912, numerous relief campaigns were organized to support those affected. Winston Churchill waves to the crowd in Whitehall, London, during Victory in Europe Day celebrations on May 8, 1945. This moment marked the official end of conflict in Europe during World War II. Thousands lined the streets to celebrate peace. Astronaut Dale Gardner holds up a for sale sign after retrieving two damaged satellites, Palapa B2 and Westar 6. The mission was flown by the Space Shuttle Discovery on STS-51A on November 14, 1984. John F. Kennedy is served fettuccine Alfredo by its creator, Alfredo Di Lelio, at the Alfredo restaurant in Rome, Italy, in 1963. The dish, created by Di Lelio in the early 20th century, gained international fame for its simplicity and taste. A captured Étrique tube monoplane is displayed in the courtyard of Les Invalides in Paris, France in 1915. The Taube was one of the first aircraft used for reconnaissance in the early 20th century. The pet cat of the 44th Finnish Air Squadron rests inside a pilot's boot during the Continuation War in Joensuu, Finland on August 16, 1942. Dorothy Dot Smith was a renowned stunt motorcyclist in the 1930s and 1940s. She rode with the San Francisco Motorcycle Club and co-founded the Motormaids Group. Burt Reynolds appears between scenes on the set of Deliverance in 1971. The film was released in 1972 and became one of Reynolds's most iconic roles. Winston Churchill, also known for his masonry skills, builds a cottage for his daughters at his Chartwell estate in Kent, England, in 1928. Marina Towers are high-rise residential buildings in Chicago, Illinois, United States, photographed in 1963. The complex features twin towers with spiral parking at the base, a design seen as groundbreaking at the time. Miss Idaho Potato poses surrounded by potatoes in 1935 in Idaho, United States. The title was part of a local celebration highlighting the region's economically vital potato industry. President Ronald Reagan meets with Mike Pence, future Vice President of the United States, in 1988. Reagan was in his final year in office, while Pence was beginning his public service career. Young Iranian girls line up to welcome U.S. President Richard Nixon during his visit to Iran in 1972. The trip was part of diplomatic efforts to strengthen ties between the two nations. The Sydney Opera House is under construction in Sydney, Australia during the 1970s. The project began in 1959 and officially completed in 1973 with an opening ceremony on October 20th. Lana Turner poses elegantly in 1955 during the peak of her Hollywood film career in the United States. She became famous for her beauty and talent, starring in numerous hit movies in the 1940s and 1950s. A tree about 300 years old was felled in 1891, revealing rings that correspond to major historical events. Each circle in the trunk marks a year of growth, allowing researchers to link past occurrences with the tree's age. This 103-year-old comic strip predicts what might happen if pocket telephones were invented. Titled "The Pocket Telephone, When Will It Ring?", it was created by W.K. Hazelden and first published in the Mirror newspaper in March 1919. Howard G. Rogers, Polaroid's chief chemist, poses with colleagues beside 5,000 bottles of compounds used to develop Polaroid's color film in 1963. Arnold Schwarzenegger celebrates the day he received U.S. citizenship. Born in Austria, he moved to the United States in 1968, where he built a career as a bodybuilder, actor, and politician. Winston Churchill enjoys a leisurely swim during a period of rest. Beyond his renowned political career, Churchill valued activities such as swimming and painting for relaxation. Robin Williams appears in character as Mork alongside the Denver Broncos cheerleaders in 1979 during an episode of Mork and Mindy. 17-year-old Shaquille O'Neal poses with his high school basketball team in San Antonio, Texas, United States in 1989. Even then, he stood out for his height and skill, drawing interest from scouts and colleges. Workers perform restorations at Stonehenge on the Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire, England in 1958. The project aimed to stabilize and reposition stones at risk of collapse. Harry Houdini poses for a photograph in 1899, wearing chains and padlocks, signature elements of his performances. He became famous as an illusionist and escape artist, with acts that defied logic and captivated audiences. A soldier tenderly feeds a kitten in 1917 during a break in military operations. Scenes like this show care and humanity, even amid the hardships of a major conflict. People enjoy a day outdoors in Kuskovo Park in Moscow, Russia, while a group plays cards by the lake. In the background stands the Kuskovo Palace, the 18th century summer residence of the Sheremetev family. Grigory Rasputin is surrounded by admirers in 1914 in Imperial Russia. He was an influential mystic known for his closeness to Tsar Nicholas II's family, especially Empress Alexandra. Donald Sutherland and Clint Eastwood appear together on the set of Kelly's Heroes, released in 1970. The film is an adventure comedy set during a major 20th century conflict, blending action and humor. A family prepares for a ride in their 1903 Cadillac Model A tonneau in the United States. This model was among Cadillac's first cars, marking the start of the modern automotive industry. Sissy Spacek poses for a photograph during the 1970s, a period when she solidified her acting career in the United States. Orson Welles performs the reading of The War of the Worlds during a radio broadcast in the United States in 1938. Paris showcases its characteristic beauty in the 19th century, with scenes captured during the 1800s. During this time, the city underwent major urban transformations led by Baron Haussmann, who modernized streets and buildings. The first mobile phone is introduced in 1973, measuring about 10 inches tall. The device offered around 35 minutes of talk time and took about 10 hours to fully recharge. 3 children react with surprise and fear on the Ghost Train ride in 1953. This classic amusement park attraction was known for its sound effects, dark scenes, and unexpected scares. A woman pushes a stroller carrying a baby and a dog in a special top-mounted pet carriage in 1934. The dog's carrier attaches above the baby's seat, showing creative urban design for transporting both together. At the Yegorevsk Aviation School in Soviet Russia in 1922, 2 men posed beside an experimental aircraft. This period marked efforts to develop military and civil aviation post-war, featuring innovative and experimental designs. A vehicle equipped with detection devices patrols UK streets to locate unlicensed television sets at a time when owning such authorization was mandatory. The Oseberg Viking ship was excavated in 1904-1905 near Tønsberg, Norway. The vessel is among the best preserved archaeological finds of the Viking Age. A person views the Tower of London and Tower Bridge from an interior vantage point in 1900. A double-decker bus travels down Victoria in London, England in 1935. On the street, a child in a small stroller draws attention near the bus, creating a typical urban scene of the era. A sign in Greenville, Connecticut instructs drivers, "Choose the speed you can afford." The message warns of a fine for each mile per hour over the speed limit. A group of soldiers poses for a selfie in a mirror in Germany in 1912. Police patrol cars are in operation in the United States in 1916. These vehicles increased officer mobility in cities, replacing foot and horse patrols. A man uses a body-stretching device in an attempt to increase his height in 1931. Such contraptions were popular in parts of the 20th century, promising posture and growth benefits. A circus strongman demonstrates his skill by lifting a horse during a 1903 performance. Such displays of strength were popular attractions in traveling shows, astounding audiences with extraordinary feats.
If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.